Hello and welcome to the EF5 broadcast. Today we have Mr. Jasper Heron, also known as Jackie, the myth, the man, the legend. He's the man. He's the man that makes everything happen along the way. He really does tremendously help out in ways that most people don't have any clue. So just grab him real quick. We had a moment. We actually have a unique moment. We have a piece of equipment that has blown the engine. So we're balancing in this great time and era where everything is just so plentifully not available and costs so much more money, and kind of what we talked about in some of the previous things that this was to come. So anyways, we have a quick time that we wanted to grab Jackie. We've been wanting to get him in here and then talk about different things. So hopefully this is the start of that. Jackie and I have known each other for probably 20 plus years now. So just going to want to talk about some of the history of how we got established. I think his first start was helping in the warehouse, and then it ended up becoming a stack of paperwork and said, go do this. This is how we used to train back in the day. So what do you think about some of the beginning stuff? What you got, Jack?
The first thing I had to have was directions as to where Lufthansa was. And then they handed me a stack of paperwork that looked like a Atlanta phone book and said, go get this. And then I arrived at Lufthansa and give them all the paperwork and just assumed that they knew what I was supposed to get and that they would put it all on the truck. And a couple of weeks into this, Justin asked me a question about something that had some damage on it. And I'm like, man, I don't know. They put it on the truck and I brought it here. He said, hold on now. Did you count all the pieces? Did you look for damage? And, well, I hadn't done any of that to that point. So then we started my training.
So the moral of the story is when we hand people paperwork and we think they know what they're doing, they don't. That's basically what we do every day is double check that what was given to us was actually what they said it was supposed to give to us.
Right.
I think that's a great misunderstanding in places we go to is people think that we should know what they give us even when they own the stuff.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah, it was funny because like you don't realize the magnitude of what you know until now you have somebody new, and that was 20 years ago, and now you look at it now, you're like, man, and then the things that have changed along the way. I mean, we got the truck pass stuff. We got all kinds of crazy processes of different things that come into the equation now versus, I mean, heck, used to be able to hop up and somebody would sign the freight off.
Oh, the greatest thing that ever come along was a Garmin. Yeah, I mean, that has
I forgot about that too. We used to have MapQuest and the sheet of paper.
We'd be calling people driving down the road trying to get directions, dude. That was the most difficult thing in the traffic. And once the Garmin came along, you could then basically put anybody in a truck and give them some addresses, and off they go, man. I mean,
so what was the Garmin? The Garmin was like what we get on our phone now. It was the GPS little map guide, and most people probably don't even know what a Garmin is.
No.
Heck, Cole and Rhett that work here probably don't even know that. That's funny. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I can remember. I'm so old that I can remember having to stop at the payphone and look at the pager and go, 911. That means call dispatch right now. Find any way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's funny. I didn't even think about the Garmin side of things.
It basically changed the industry from actually when I first started, there was such a thing as taking a Saturday and going driving around on your route just to try to become familiar with
yeah.
it.
I didn't think about that.
You get out on your route and you pretty much figure out where you're going, and all of a sudden you get a phone call and you got to bounce to a place you never been before.
Right.
I mean, that used to be a real trip.
We used to have a guy that worked. He was from one of the islands, and one day I asked him, I said, how'd you find everything? He said, I just drive and find a brown truck, a post office, or a police station or fire station. So he would drive to Norcross in Atlanta, and you know Norcross is big, or Atlanta address for that matter.
Yeah.
And just pull up to the first thing he saw and say, hey, can you help me find this address? And they would start giving them directions. So, yeah, we've come a long way from the GPS side of things.
We sure have.
Yeah, and I think, too, one of the things you've been instrumental in helping along the way, too, is the kind of the value of the service we bring versus the quantity of just freight. Like realizing that our customers don't see things and they're relying on us to see them. So the stories we're able to share with them and the way we recognize not to do too much to make sure we are doing what they ask, that's drastically changed from when you started. We used to just pile freight in and just go deliver it all, and it would always work out and you could get through traffic. You could do all that stuff. What about traffic? Traffic's crazy, isn't it?
Traffic is when I first come to Atlanta, I was so bad being from Columbus, an old country boy. I'd get up here and I'd be on 285, and I stayed in the right hand lane, and because when I come to an exit, if I couldn't get over, I'd just get off on the exit and go across and come back down again, get back on 285, man.
But it wouldn't take you 2 hours to do that. Now it takes about 2 hours just to get around one exit.
Right.
That's crazy. Right. Heck, what you had the one time too? You got a ticket in the truck because you couldn't get over because traffic was bad, and then the police officer decided he was going to chase you down. That was some dumb stuff.
That's when that move over a lane first came into play, and I was following a tractor trailer one Friday afternoon without a concern in the world. I was going to make where I needed to go in plenty of time, so I wasn't doing about 60 miles an hour. And I'm just content to sit there behind that tractor, but because I was behind him,
right,
I couldn't see a Cobb County police officer had somebody pulled over, and when the tractor passed him, I passed him and he hit his sirens.
Oh, he was coming to get you, huh?
Dude,
you got the easiest one. That's great.
At 60.
That's great.
I had to go to Cobb County and go to court on that one. That was a trip.
Yeah, that's a great analogy of the law. Means great, but like have some general common sense. Like you couldn't see them to get over.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way the world's gotten crazy a little bit, but. Yeah, I know with the airlines specifically, you help out tremendously on that in the mornings compared to the delays of freight and different things like that. That has gotten really crazy. You used to be able to go over to any location to pick up freight, and, you'd run into problems where they might not find something or it might take a little bit longer. But today, it's almost like an act of Congress to try to get something completed timely anymore, and it's not necessarily even their fault all the time. It's just the system, the process of what it takes to do things nowadays. It's just crazy. That's changed drastically, hasn't it?
Well, now having all this experience to pull from helps. But the first epiphany I had is that you're dealing with people is I had been sent to Swissport like every day for 2 weeks, and I had been dealing with the same woman. And I tried to tell her one time I was in a hurry, and she just stopped and looked at me, and she said, "Mr. Herring," and I looked back at her, and I'm like, "You know who I am?" She said, "You've been coming in here every day for 2 weeks. My name is Gwen. Hello, how you doing?" And I was so nervous and anxious and in a hurry because we had these things back then called transfers. And you was always on a deadline, but these girls working behind the counter never seemed like they was in no hurry. We was like we were on different timelines. And so, but Miss Gwen actually introducing me to her and learning to bring it to a personal level when you're dealing with people instead of just standing back and being aggravated and
that's easy to do too. It's easier to be aggravated than it is to invest in a person, in a relationship.
Then it spread from there. You can be active in the relationship with the person you're dealing with, the other drivers around you, and everybody you see, from the managers to whoever, the lowliest dock worker, at any point given time, either one of them people can help you in some kind of way.
Oh yeah, and there's good people. That's the challenge is we run into crazy problems, but there's really good people. And through the different activities we've done here at Elite too, has created opportunities to connect beyond that. I think that's part of, you said you were from Columbus, so that country boy personality of, growing up and being good to people and stuff's kind of been lost in different places. And because we're busy or whatever the dynamics are, but it doesn't mean that still doesn't matter. It means a whole lot. And there are a bunch of good people that we've had a chance to build good relationships with.
And it's not a situation, once you know this person or that person, you can rest on your laurels because they have a pretty good turnover at the airline. So you invest 2 or 3 weeks in a relationship, and you go in there one day, she's gone, you got another brand new girl here that don't know who you are or whatever. And so it's a constant evolving.
Oh, yeah. And then we found, too, in the business that I joke around with everybody. It's like the mafia. Once you're in, you're never out. You're always in the family. That was kind of part of some of the driving of the shirt a little bit, was this business of the freight forwarding, trucking side, logistics is definitely different than other trucking moves that people associate trucking with. They see a truck driving down the road and they think it's all the same. But in this business that we've gotten to know over 20 years plus, is it does mean a lot in relationships and building those, and then they end up in different places too, and then you don't have to start all over necessarily because you've already built a good relationship.
Well, that's is mostly on the forwarding side, because they don't ever leave the airport. They just go from one company to the next.
Exactly.
And if you have a good relationship, well, then the work follows, and that's how we pick up a lot of business right there.
Well, from our aspect, we hadn't left in 20 years, so we're just as much just like them. So, and we've had different customers, different people come through, and we still interact and see them. And some are we like to see, and some, we don't spend a whole lot, but that's life. That's how it works. So, I don't know. I just figured we'd jump in here real quick. Maybe we'll do some more of this, but I'm gonna go ahead and call it an end right now, so we can move on, so we can provide some of that good service. So, as we end here, we say we're out. So we're out.